You could tell he was
Yeah.
one of the most famous people in the world as well. Just people, when they walked past him, were like, everybody was like, fuck.
You've obviously traveled quite a lot with your work. I'm just going to list off some. You mentioned Russia, India.
Yeah.
You went to Munich to interview Iron Robin. I watched that whole interview as well. I don't know how you feel about that.
Did you?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that in so long, man. I can't remember. I was probably so nervous in my little Jack Wills shirt.
Yeah,
you
you honestly look like a different person.
Do I?
Yeah, you've come a long way since then, man.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
And of course, California for KSI versus Logan Paul.
Yeah.
So is traveling with your job something you really look forward to doing?
Oh, definitely. Any sort of trip like that, I 100% look forward to. If it's somewhere like Russia in particular, I would probably never go to Russia. Like even like LA, I might end up going to LA, you know, girlfriend might want to go to LA or something like that. Russia, very unlikely I'm going to go to somewhere like Sochi. Yeah. So when we got the opportunity to go to Russia, I've been twice. I went for the Confederations Cup and then I went for the actual World Cup. But in the Confederations one, we were flown out there by the actual Russian tourism board, I think it was. So we were given this sort of view of Russia that I would say is quite not sanitized, but the best you could possibly have almost. Yeah. It's like staying in nice hotels. We're going to take you on all these trips around Moscow. So we went to Moscow and we were taken out and we did all these activities, trying food and stuff. And then we were taken to sort of like bars and stuff that the locals knew because we fell into with one of the guys who was a local. And so I got to experience a bit of like the more authentic side of Moscow, which is great. But it was like Confederations Cup Moscow as well. So it's I've never seen a city so clean. It was just immaculate, absolutely immaculate, amazing. But it's almost felt like, because it was the build up to a World Cup, they'd moved all of the shit out.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I don't know how to put it, but it's almost like they've just picked up anybody who's like maybe homeless or something, just like gone, no. I didn't see like a single homeless person there. Really? I didn't see any chewing gum on the pavements. I didn't see a single bit of litter. And it's like, in real life, these things exist.
Yeah.
Where are they? It was just really weird. And then we one day got a bus to a stadium, I think it was, and we traveled to an outskirts part of Moscow. And then suddenly you were like, okay, here's like the Soviet Union end of Moscow. It's like much different. And then we obviously went from Moscow, flew in a tiny little Cessna plane, which I don't know if you've ever done, like tiny one, with 30 people on board. Awful. I can only imagine what a private jet's like, because it must be horrendous. Just bouncing about, got to Sochi, and then Sochi is just ridiculous. I've never experienced anything like it. It's got a beach that they've laid out almost like LA, almost like Venice Beach, where they've obviously seen Venice Beach and tried to copy it with the palm trees down there. Yeah. And it was in the build up to the Winter Olympics in Sochi. So they pumped probably billions, hundreds of millions into Sochi. And it's got the beach with the strip down it. And then in the background, it's got the snowy mountains. So it's like really bizarre setting. And we did stuff like, we obviously did like bungee jumping and stuff in Sochi. I got very, very drunk one night in Sochi, really badly, and then spent the next day on a bus being sick into a cab that was just pouring through my hands. But I'd say Russia's like a totally unique place that I would never have gone. So that was a classic case of like, thank God for being so lucky with my work.
Yeah, what a trip, and especially to go there for your work. That's everyone's dream.
Yeah. Especially when you work with your friends, you know what I mean? Like, because Football Daily's like everybody's best mates. So when you go there with your friends, you're just there with your friends. It's like, it doesn't feel like real work. Yeah.
What an opportunity, man. I wanted to talk about KSI versus Logan Paul in California.
Yeah.
Because it's on this day that we're recording a year ago that you interviewed Justin Bieber.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I thought
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. But what a trip. What an absolute honor that was to get out there. Was, again, very, very fortunate that with timing really of that one, because obviously Saturday Social had just started, and Logan Paul KSI gets the Sky box office slot, which is huge.
Massive. For
them. And Sky Boxing are obviously incredibly talented team. We've got some amazing people who work there, but maybe didn't have the knowledge of social media that that maybe like somebody like you have, I have, just inherently being a little bit younger, I think helps there. So I think they saw Saturday Social as a vehicle for social media they could put out there, quite adaptable, have Saturday Social out there in order to promote the boxing a little bit. Then me and Smithy could help out on the ground, pick out YouTubers, interview people. And I kind of got stuck with I got given the like celebrity interview role.
Yeah.
Which you've obviously done vox popping.
In the past.
Vox popping is not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any journalists, or I'm not calling myself a journalist there, but anybody's favorite thing to do. But I think it's even tougher with celebs, because they're like, when you put a camera in a member of the public's face, they're almost intrigued. They're almost like, oh, could this be me on the news? But then when you do it with a celebrity, they're just like, I don't want you to be here. Get out of my face. I don't need this. So the role was quite difficult, but like Justin Bieber interview, obviously LA as a whole is, I would say, an intriguing city. It's not what I expected at all, LA, because obviously when you visualize it, you see the glitz and the glamour and the stars and everything. And then we were obviously staying in downtown LA, and I mean, it's the poverty really shocked me in LA, has to be said. Really, really shocked me, especially the homeless situation there. So sad, because you've got sort of Beverly Hills, and then you've got like horrendous homelessness, the like of which I've never ever seen before. One day I decided I was just going to take my scooter, because they got the little limes, and just scoot around downtown LA and sort of into like I think it is Soho-y area, where there's like fashion districts and a few fashion shops, and it's getting there. And on the scooter, I was just going past literal streets of tents, like hundreds and hundreds of tents of homeless people. And I'd never seen anything like it before. It makes London's homeless situation pale into insignificance. And obviously London's is so sad and horrendous too. But I couldn't believe it. And I'd never really seen that on the TV. And maybe that's my own ignorance. Maybe that's just a lack of research. But when I think of LA, I think of, like Kim Kardashian, and I think of Hollywood. I don't think of the homelessness situation there. So that really shocked me. So I think LA was a bit of, it was both a wake-up call, and also it was like an opportunity of a lifetime. Yeah.
I wanted to take it back to Justin Bieber, obviously, because I'll make this into a clip and I can turn it into some views. But I want you to give a little bit of an insight into how that interview came about. Like, do you have to go and approach him? Is someone going to grab him for you? Is he up for doing that interview?
Okay, so on the day, it was me and one cameraman. I had one cameraman with me with the task of grabbing people for interviews. So I was going up to, Jake Paul, Mike Malak, Shannon Briggs, whoever was around that I could grab. I was just grabbing them. I was quite nervous about it, because I was worried I wasn't going to remember my questions. And you had to be quite specific with how long it was, because it was being fitted in between rounds of boxing. So it would like lay between round 1 and 3 as promo for the main event. So we obviously knew Justin was going to be there. So he was obviously quite a big pull, and he arrived, and we were in the back bit, and I just saw him, and he was like mucking around with a few of his mates, and like they were, I don't know, I think they were playing with the ball or something like that. And it was backstage. And I don't think he was doing any media, because our cameraman was just like, I'll just get a shot of him walking. And I was like, if he's there, we've got to try it. So I just literally got the mic and went up to him. It's just like, look, Justin, can I ask you one question for Sky about the fight? And he was like, no, I don't want to do any media. I was just like, please, really help me out. Just one question. And I think I ended up asking like 3. But you know what, felt like I've obviously like tried to make it into a bit of a meme with him not being the easiest interview, which he obviously wasn't the easiest interview. You can watch it and see that he was quite hard work, but equally he didn't have to do that interview, and he was there to have fun with his mates. I think he probably had a couple of drinks and was like, it was nice of him just to say yes. Like he didn't need to do that for me. He could have just been like, oh no, fuck off. And I wouldn't be able to say anything. So I can make a meme of him and make a bit of a joke, but equally fair play to Justin just for doing it.
because he is without doubt one of, what would you say, top 10 most famous people in the world?
Oh, he's got to be up there, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's got to be up there. And you could tell he was one of the most famous people in the world as well. Just people, when they walked past him, were like, everybody was like, fuck. So, yeah, he's obviously incredibly famous. I mean, it wasn't exactly the longest interaction, but he was not the easiest interview I've ever had, to be honest with you. His answers were like one word. And when you're quite nervous and he's a superstar and you haven't got that many follow-up questions, you're like, oh, fuck, what am I going to ask next? But yeah, he did it. And at the end of the day, I think that was probably quite a good win to get Justin Bieber on the spot. I don't reckon he did many other medias that day. Yeah.
You mentioned it there, but do you get nervous with that?
Yeah, so anxious, man, about that sort of stuff. Especially when I'm in an environment I don't know. Like, I know quite a bit about boxing, but not to a football level. Like, if you put me in a football environment, I think I could, even if I had 10 minutes with a player with no prep, I think I could bullshit my way through an interview with a footballer, because I've got probably better knowledge than your average Joe on a Premier League player. Whereas boxing, I don't think I do. I think I am the average Joe of knowledge. So if I was put there with a boxing person and said, right, you've got 5 minutes to just interview him, I would probably panic a little bit. So I was super nervous, and you just get even more nervous the bigger the person's name is. So when it's somebody like Bieber, you're like, oh my Lord, like, this is a very nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah. How do you look back on that interview? Obviously a massive name, but like you said, you didn't manage to get a whole lot out of him. Where does that rank in your career? Is it perhaps a highlight, or?
I wouldn't say it's like a low light, that's for sure, because I think I definitely tried my best, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, man. You're just breaking up a little bit.
I think.
Sorry, man. I just lost you a little bit there. Just after you said it wasn't a low light.
It wasn't a low light. Yeah, I would say that. Having watched it back, I would probably have approached it slightly different now. Even 12 months on, I feel like my interview style is a lot more relaxed and a lot more patient. Whereas back then I was kind of. So I think it isn't a low light. Probably not a highlight though either, and something that I'll look back on in years to come and be like, oh dear, look at the state of how young I am there.